What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, alongside the Rick Steiner to my Scott Steiner, Lester Jones.
Rick Steiner was the best Steiner.
Was he?
He was the money Steiner.
Oh, no. Big Papa Pump made more money, I bet.
You're right, but I liked the other one better.
He's got those freaks and those peaks.
But he didn't act like a dog.
The old dog-faced gremlin.
Who doesn't love dogs?
But speaking of Scott Steiner, he really should be sued for impersonation, because there's only one big bad booty daddy, and that would be the Ninth Wonder, Chocolate Thunder, licking butts and getting guts, the ass tasting, times a wasting, having fun, eating that scrum, the phenomenal one, A.J. Singh.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
I had to bring it back.
Yeah, you said you were more comfortable with it, right?
I can do either. I can change it up. All right. Any good stories from the week, you guys?
I got nothing.
No naked people at work?
Not this week.
Didn't watch. What have you been watching besides that pottery show?
I watched a fair amount of that this week, didn't I?
You did.
Pottery?
I've been watching Cobra Kai at work.
Oh, you like it?
Working hard. It's been pretty good. It's like, drama.
Do you have to remember anything about the original Karate Kid? Because I might be in trouble.
No, you don't have to remember anything, but they do bring back a lot of those actors, which has been, you get a little bit of nostalgia. There's a big, slab of 80s written over top of everything.
So is the kid that was like the kind of the shithead villain in those movies, he's like growing up and he's not a shithead anymore? Is that the thing?
Well, he's still kind of a shithead, but he's like a redemptive character.
Oh.
So he's trying to get straight, but he's still kind of a fuck up.
I see. All right. Well, as tradition dictates, AJ, we'll have you kick this thing off.
All right, let's talk about this article right here. I hired an escort and my best friend's mom turned up.
Nice.
Since joining the Army 6 years ago, James has found it difficult to hold down a relationship. His job means he's away for long periods at a time, which makes dating and finding someone special extremely tricky. However, he missed the physical sides of a relationship, so he decided to try hiring escorts, saying he makes the best of a very unique situation. His fun, sexy nights have become part of his normal routine, and he's never thought too much of it. Until one evening when things got very, very weird, when one of his anonymous bookings ended up being his best friend's mom. The site he used saw him order an escort using just photos of the woman's body, but you couldn't see her face. He told Mirror Online, "Using escorts means I can satisfy my sexual needs with no strings attached. In my mind, I'm making the best of a very unique situation. I always book escorts no matter where I'm stationed with the Army. When I last came home after being injured, I couldn't wait to book someone. I was buzzing. I have always had a thing for Milfs, so I decided to look for a woman who had a sexy headmistress vibe. She didn't show her face in the photos, but her body and what she said she'd do on her profile was enough to grab my attention. They set a time and a place, and 45 minutes later a car pulled up. But James was horrified when he opened the door. He said, I opened the door, and who was in front of me? My best friend's mom. I just thought, shit, this is awkward. He claims that while he had no idea what to do, the friend's mom took control of the situation and acted like they didn't know each other. He said she proceeded with the appointment like we didn't even know each other. I was obviously attracted to her. It was a weird turn of events, but it actually added to the excitement. You want what you can't have, and I knew I shouldn't carry on. However, they did address the issue after they were finished, with a mutual understanding that it had to be a secret. He explains, we did make a clear agreement at the end.
He wasn't very good at keeping that end.
Yeah. We made an agreement at the end that it would have to be a secret. No one could know. Unsurprisingly, James has decided he will never tell his friend about what happened. He said, I honestly don't know how I'd even start that conversation. The fact that I've seen her on several occasions since would also make it 100 times worse for obvious reasons. But to make things even more horrifyingly awkward, James knows that his pal uses the same escort directory, envy.com. He said, I often worry that he'll accidentally book her himself. My experience wouldn't
They won't
be...
talk about it till afterwards.
She'll act like she doesn't know him. My experience wouldn't be awkward at all if that happened, but the encounter hasn't put James off, and he's continued using escorts, but has learned his lesson. He said, I'm more cautious now when booking someone in my own town. I only book someone who's verified, and I have to see their face. I don't want to make that mistake again. He doesn't want to make that mistake again, but he's slept with her several times since then.
Now, just keeping the secret thing and not telling his friend. So is this one of those things where, like, his real name's not James?
Yeah.
Because it seems like he's letting the cat out of the bag.
I mean, if you're his friend, you might have some suspicion at this point. Mom dresses funky, a little sexy and goes out a lot.
Why do you always smell like my mom's nasty perfume?
Man, yeah, I had a crush on a friend's mom when I was a kid, so I guess, I get it.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
It's hard to be friends with somebody after that. Like, to keep that a secret and still be their friend, that's
Can you imagine, like, what would your reaction be when you open that door? You just be like, close it
Quietly close it in her face.
Let's never talk about it.
But I mean, he probably would have said, oh, let's not do this. But she completely went in on it, She was like, oh, we don't know each other. We're just going to do this. Like,
I guess you don't have too many limits as a prostitute, probably.
Yeah, I guess not. I don't know.
I wonder if in his head he's like, well, maybe she hasn't seen me in years. Maybe she doesn't know it's me. Maybe I look so different.
I mean, there's different kind of prostitutes too, though. Like, some are like, pretty picky, aren't they?
I think they do like screening, so
Yeah.
I don't know the exact rules.
Yeah, I mean, like, she couldn't find another customer pretty quickly. Like, she just went with it. She was like, all right,
Yeah.
$200 or whatever,
I already came,
I'm already here, yeah.
I'm getting paid.
God,
She must have done a good job if he keeps coming back.
Yeah, if he keeps going back, yeah. I mean, if you're that friend, though, oh my gosh.
That's some Jerry Springer shit.
Yeah.
That doesn't come out until you're fighting with that person. I fucked your mom 719 times.
It cost me a fortune.
It's a small fortune.
I want to hear the final thought that wraps this one up.
Yeah.
With a bow on it.
Her son's still living at home, and that's how she feeds him.
Mama's got to go make that money.
If you want food in your mouth, you'll let me put his dick in mine.
Let him feed me.
Didn't see you complaining when you got that PS5.
Fine.
There's a new one coming out this year.
Oh, man.
You got anything that classy for us?
Man, I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? Okay, here's one. I think we mentioned this a little bit before, like dopamine detox. Like, if you guys, what's your feelings on this? Because I've been, like, this week in specific, like, there's a few days I didn't take my phone to work just to try to, like, wean off of it a little bit. But it's like, I've noticed that, like, I have trouble, like, even paying attention to TV now. And I'm like, this has gone too far. I can't even, like, pay attention to TV. And you think about how bad TV and how addictive that is. It's like, oh my God, I'm turning into an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, my memory is going. It's not that good anymore. I feel like that's part of the whole phone culture.
Yeah, I've just been feeling bad about myself. And I'm like, maybe if I just, cut this back. And like my work doesn't have a lot going on. So I've been reading this week. And I was like, man, I kind of miss reading. I haven't been reading in a long time.
Yeah, I don't read that much. When I do read, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I read comics, but I'm still on my device reading them.
Well, I've been reading like a little bit of history this week, and I don't know, it just feels good to get like some actual perspective and facts going into my brain that's not completely retarded.
I'm even worse since the pandemic because I can't go to the gym, and so I can't exercise,
Yeah.
Because I think that does help, if you're able to like exhaust yourself. It kind of helps flush your mind out a little bit, but I haven't really been able to do that.
Yeah, that would probably help. That's another thing I should probably do. Just as general well-being.
I don't feel like I really get a big dopamine boost from social media like people talk about, just because I guess maybe I don't have a lot of interaction on there, but I also don't have a lot of people I'm not in there like, oh, I got to see, I get like, I don't really get off on that sort of thing.
Like, I don't even feel like I get that much out of it, but I will still check it like a million times if I have my phone there. It's just like, oh, nothing's going on. I'll check.
That's true. I guess Twitter is kind of like that.
Yeah.
Let's see if anyone's something interesting happened in the world.
But really, I just like the TV thing. It started I'm like, I can't even sit down and pay attention to TV. Like, you think that's like the most addictive thing on the face of the earth. And then I'm just like, I'll sit here while it's playing in the background. I'm on my phone looking at something completely retarded.
I mean, I definitely have that thing, which I think a lot of people do, is when you're like on Netflix or whatever, and there's like, there's a million things, but you're like, man, I don't feel like watching any of these. Like, I just can't commit to any of this.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I frequently feel like I've watched the best stuff, and then I'm just like meandering through all the crap. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe you can't concentrate because you're watching pottery shows and your brain's like, man, this is so boring.
I actually pay attention to that one. I really like watching people do crafts. It's like, these people have a mastery of this,
No, that is interesting to watch, though. Yeah,
I don't know. They're addictive to me, those ones.
Should watch more porn. You'll definitely keep your interest there.
There's part of me that disagrees with
you. Let's see. Okay, this is an easy one for me, but I'll see about you guys. Would you rather eat pizza every day or never be able to eat pizza again?
But you have variety. Anything else goes.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, so I eat a piece of pizza every day for lunch or whatever. I would much rather do that than give up pizza altogether. It's my favorite food.
Yeah, I'd eat pizza every day.
I don't know. I think I'd just dump it and go with a variety, because I like ordering, like, we'll order Papa John's or something. I'll just gorge myself on pizza and leftovers for like 2 or 3 days, and then I'm like, I never want pizza again. And then like a month later, I'll be like, I could eat some pizza.
But the thing isn't like you can only eat pizza, so you get a variety. You just got to make sure you eat some pizza every day so that you don't have to cut pizza out of your life entirely.
Oh, yeah, if I just had to eat like 1 piece a day, I'd be cool with that.
Yeah. See, and that's what I would do.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. All right, that was a simple one. We'll kick it back over to you.
Well, I have some topics here, but did you guys want to talk about the presidential debate?
I mean, we can. I did.
I'm sure everyone's kind of beaten it to death by now, but it is, still.
I don't have as much to say about it as I thought I would, because I know like one of the early episodes we did, I was like, man, this is going to be a fun train wreck to watch. But
it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It really wasn't.
It was a train wreck.
It was a train wreck.
It was. Yeah, it was just kind of obnoxious because, he just kept interrupting Biden and interrupting.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I mean, you want to hear something of substance, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, I just thought the same thing. He just kept interrupting, and it was hard to listen to. I turned it off after like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't finish. I watched a little bit, and I didn't finish.
Yeah.
I suffered through the whole thing just because, like, I was like, maybe there'll be something worth talking about, but I'm like, probably should have just watched the highlights, I guess.
Someone on Twitter was saying, like, which old white person are you cheering for tonight? And I was like, well, with any luck, maybe death will come and take them both. So it looked like maybe you got one of them.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
What do you guys all think about this Trump with Corona thing?
I don't know what to think about it. Like, some people are even saying that it's made up. So I'm like,
I don't see a motivation for it. Like, some people, I guess, weed something out. But if you don't have a motive, I don't really understand it. But I was thinking, you guys know that show, like, 1,000 Ways to Die? And it's like, oh, here's the way to die. But then, like, the person, like, basically they got poetic justice in the story. It's like, oh, this guy liked to kick cats. And then, like, at the end, he gets killed by, like, 50 cats or something random.
Yeah.
I was just like, well, this is Trump's poetic death.
Yeah.
It kind of would be. Yeah, because he's always, downplaying it, right?
Yeah.
But if he does beat it, which, I mean, it's likely he will.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, oh, I beat it, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
Like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, if he survives, he's a champion. It's
Yeah.
like, see, I told you it was nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it would be poetic justice if he got it again and it killed him.
Well, wasn't one of their events where nobody's wearing masks? Didn't like a bunch of people catch it in one of those?
Yeah, Herman Cain caught it and he died.
I didn't know he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, he died, and then they were making fun of him because someone was still operating his Twitter account. Yeah, there was tweets from his account after he died.
Like normal?
I don't remember what they said, but someone was like, "See, it's not a big deal. He's tweeting.
He's still going.
Yeah.
Still pulling for Trump.
Oh man.
But yeah, I don't think it's a hoax. I think he does have it.
Yeah,
but,
I would think so.
He's got a better chance than anyone just because he's getting the top care.
Yeah, exactly. And they figured out how to treat it since then.
Yeah, better than they knew at the beginning or whatever. So, yeah, I would say most likely he'll recover, but I don't know. Maybe it'll get him out of any further debates. I don't know.
Well, I got some topics here we can go into.
All right.
All right, so a porn studio is set to open a bizarre adult-themed park in Tokyo's red light district. While theme parks and tourist attractions around the world are closing due to COVID-19 pandemic, a bold new venture is set to open up in Japan next month. Sodland is a multi-story adult-themed park created by Japanese porn studio Soft On Demand in Tokyo's notorious...
That's both terrible names.
Yeah, Soft On Demand.
And Sodland.
Yeah. It sounds like sodomy, I guess. I don't know.
No, who wants soft on demand?
Is it softcore porn?
Maybe it sounds better in Japanese.
Yeah, it didn't translate very well.
Let's see. Each of the building's 5 floors will be themed after a different aspect of the studio's erotic films. The 5 different SOD-themed environments have been designed by SOD founder Ganari Takahashi. The basement of the unique attraction will be an expanded version of a bar the studio previously opened in Akihabara. Reports in Japanese media describe the basement as staffed by the studio's newest performers, with a casual atmosphere designed to provide a low-cost alternative to the neighborhood's expensive hostess bars. The ground floor area is a general exception area, with a variety of video games and enclosed capsules showing soft on-demand content. The next floor is described as a sex industry research center. While there's limited information available about what goes on there, the official description of the place is of a place to look like a Styles and Faces hints at a traditional Japanese hostess bar. Pop upstairs and you're in for a more relaxing setting of the Cyan Bar Kabuchiko, an informal area laid out like an office with patrons that can enjoy drinks served by famous sexy SOD actresses. Finally, there's the silent bar on the top floor. Their customers can relax while a sexy bartender serves them drinks from behind a one-way mirror. This isn't the first time Soft On Demand have demonstrated some somewhat unconventional methods of publicizing their adult films, as well as opening up their own premium website for free during lockdown, and an act of generosity that saw the site crash due to the huge number of viewers. The studio also staged an event where a light sculpture was powered by the pent-up sexual energy of Tokyo's virgins. Sodland is set to open up in Kabuchiko on October 10th.
It's run entirely on the excess energy of virgins.
I gotta say, the Japanese do some interesting sex stuff.
Yeah.
They are out there, man.
Gotta watch out for that tentacle room.
Yeah, there is some weird staples of, here's my big question about Japanese porn that's always bothered me. What is the deal with all the blurring of the genitals in Japanese porn?
I was guessing it was just illegal.
But, I mean, that's so weird. It's almost like they're horny, but they're ashamed of it.
Yeah, or maybe it turns them on more to not see it, I don't know.
Oh, well, there's some mystery of what's going on behind there.
Yeah, wonder what they're doing.
I've always found it so bizarre. It's just weird.
Well, these hostesses too, by the way, like they have bars where a hostess will treat you for the night, like she'll take care of you, and like you could eventually end up having sex with her. Like, I mean, that's not normal in America anyway. Like a hostess, like she just shows you around, gets you drinks. That's interesting. I mean, that's
because if you try to do something like a business, you're gonna get taken down.
Yeah.
Yeah, Japan is very unique culturally because it's like on one hand yeah, they have all this like weird sexual stuff, but then on the other hand, they're very conservative about drugs. Like if you do drugs there, like you do like prison time, and it's like a huge like you're looked down on socially. Like I remember there was like a guy that does a voice in like one of those Yakuza games or whatever. Like they found out he was doing cocaine, and so they like updated the game and like took his voice out of it.
Wow.
And like yeah, it's like a huge like social thing. Like you do not do drugs. Like so they're like very conservative in some ways, but then very explicit.
And they have a strong drinking culture too.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
But then like they say like a lot of people in Japan are not having sex, but then they also have these sex things going on all over the place. Like
yeah, it's like this weird like I don't know repression, and then like weird porn comes out of it. I guess.
Yeah. Maybe there's into some weird stuff, so like it's hard to have normal sex with each other.
I bet this thing is good for tourism though.
Yeah, I was thinking like if I ever went to Japan, I'd definitely visit this porn themed bar. That would be interesting. It probably wouldn't turn me on because it'd feel like so forced, but just the idea of it is just interesting.
Yeah, it'd probably feel weird to actually go to it, but
unless you're like straight up skeevy as hell, then you'd be like, "Yep, I'm into this."
Live stream it.
Would you go to it if you were in Japan?
I don't know if it was like. I don't know. It depends on the description. But
you think it just
I
be
definitely
like,
have a curiosity.
You think
factor.
it'd be just like going to a strip club or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I find strip clubs depressing, but
yeah, they are.
well, these girls are like paying attention to people, and then like when nobody has money, they're just standing around like staring into space, looking depressed, and like, this doesn't seem right.
They don't have them obviously in the town we're from, but like there was a spot when we used to drive to Bozeman to college where like there was a sign for one, and it was called Sagebrush Sam's, which I just thought was like the worst thing.
Yeah, that's where the college kids would go because they'd have to like pack up and go to a different county or something. So yeah, people would take like road trips out there.
Is there like some sort of meaning behind that name, Sagebrush Sam?
I don't know. Maybe the women really have some
like some
brush down there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was a funny one.
Not sexy, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. We want to go to the sagebrush. I don't know. All right, you got anything for us?
I don't know, guys. You want to talk about gun control?
I don't know if I'm prepared all that well, but sure.
I'm not even prepared. It's just something that's kind of popped into my brain because I've been reading like the history textbooks and like decimation of indigenous people and stuff. And I was like, if you read this and you like see how like unweaponized people get slaughtered, it's like I have trouble, going along with gun control in those circumstances.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're both from Montana, so obviously
we're from gun culture country.
We're not anti-gun. I mean, there's small things they could do that wouldn't bother me, but yeah, getting rid of guns altogether, I think is a bad idea, and it's not necessary.
Yeah, in general, that's where I'm leaning. I wasn't sure if anyone's going to argue. I don't know what's your position, Ajay.
I am for gun control. Because I feel like those people, if they didn't meet people who had guns, then they'd be in a better position too, right?
Well, yeah. The essential problem is they did meet people with guns.
Yeah.
And so if someone else has guns and you don't have guns, you're putting your country in a awkward position potentially.
You mean like if there was an invasion or something?
Right. So basically, whoever's better prepared, but purposely disarming your people is a dangerous kind of strategy historically.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about some sort of invasion, then yeah, it makes more sense to have guns. But I mean, I don't know if invasions or anything like that are possible anymore. Like I mean, for small countries, yeah, they are. But
yeah, and you see us doing that to some smaller countries that aren't armed as well as we are.
Yeah,
like we took over Iraq in like a few days.
Did they not have guns?
Well, it's not that they necessarily didn't, but they weren't nearly as prepared as we were, right?
Mm.
I know there was like I want to see it was a Japanese general after like Pearl Harbor who said he wouldn't want to invade America because there'd be a gun behind every blade of grass.
Yeah.
And if you think of like when the Nazis went into Russia, people were taking pot shots at them from behind trees and shit. and just there's like a slow dwindling, like just massacre. There's like this very slow rolling.
The only thing is these days I think there's too much technology for like a real big ground scale, war to come to us, because we just had the intelligence we have in satellites and stuff. Like we can see things coming, we can fight things with drones, and so like the idea that of some weird like Red Dawn scenario.
It's not necessarily that. It's just saying, like, say you had total disarmament of your people, and basically you just had the military or whatever it is, that the people themselves are in danger. But you also have, a number of instances where if the population is disarmed, then the government is much easier to become tyrannical. Yeah. And a lot of people get in trouble that way. So, I don't know. On the whole, it seems like that. I mean, the U.S. does have more gun deaths in a lot of places. And another interesting thing is why do you think there's a lot more gun violence and gun deaths in the cities that have the most gun control? Because intuitively you think it would be the opposite, right?
I mean, yeah, they still get their hands on guns illegally and stuff, people. So, I guess like you said, like if they have an advantage, they'll use it.
Right. And so like the good people who follow the law have placed themselves at a disadvantage. Is my thought process. No,
I agree. But if you could figure out a way to like really reduce the number of guns everywhere in America, because like, if it's in the cities where they have better gun control, maybe they're going outside the city to get the guns, right?
I mean, that's true. If you look at like Britain, who's basically completely disarmed their people, you obviously don't get that as many gun-related deaths, but you do see a lot of robbery. Like there's very little danger in robbing a house. You're not going to get shot or something.
Oh, is it higher over there?
Yeah, it is higher. But then if you look at like Switzerland, where everybody basically has to own a gun, they don't have any robbery because you're going to get fucking shot.
Yeah, and Iceland too. They have a lot of guns and no real violence with it.
I mean, we definitely do have gun violence in the U.S. and we have certain things like that are popping up. But I mean, I think statistically you're probably better off, but those are at the same time are very graphic and horrible stories that you see popping up. So I understand kind of where people are coming from, but I think it's kind of missing the big picture maybe.
Yeah, that Kyle Rittenhouse kid, like I feel like him having a gun, like
there's people you don't want to have guns.
Yeah, that makes me think like I'm for gun control, but yeah, I mean it has to be done in a way where we don't increase crime and stuff like that.
I mean, historically, I just think it's much more dangerous. I was listening to an economist. It's one of the guys who did Freakonomics, and basically he's saying, considering like the number of guns in this country, and if you think about the population as like a certain percentage of psychopaths, like it's kind of surprising how few of these incidences we have. Like it's surprising we don't have a lot more than we do have.
Yeah, there are a lot of crazy people out there.
Yeah. But these incidences are still relatively few. Yeah,
but I mean, once one person does it, then another person gets that idea, and then it starts snowballing. That's what it's been like lately, a lot of school shootings and everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's one thing to keep in mind is like, I think this was a few years ago I heard this, and it's like, not the odds of getting shot, but the odds of being shot in like a mass shooting type environment, like you're more likely to like get crushed to death by like a vending machine or something like that. Statistically,
some of those statistics are like,
you wonder about, but
well, they're probably true. It's just they're not intuitive because you have very different perceptions about reality.
But I think it's less about getting rid of guns altogether and finding ways of getting them out of the hands of certain people. So like I know some local places have done things like getting rid of gun rights for people that beat women or beat kids, things like that, and I can totally get behind something like that because statistically, like if you look at a lot of shooters, a lot of them have done that in the past,
like harmed animals and stuff.
Yeah,
histories of violence.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like the whole universal background checks and like, cutting out the loophole, buying at gun shows and over the internet without a background check. To me, I think we got the technology to where it should be easy to implement so that we can do that. I think that one's just more a paranoia of people,
Well, the thing is that they're very graphic stories.
like shootings.
Right. I mean,
Yeah, they're always
news,
going to get people emotionally.
and you're not going to see like NBC, a guy was crushed by a vending machine today.
Yeah.
And you don't see, nobody compares those numbers, and nobody has the perception that vending machines are dangerous. And like even like with the gun stuff, like it's similar to the vending machine. Like your children are statistically much, much more likely to die if you own a swimming pool than if you own a gun.
Yeah, that's probably true.
It is true, yeah. So, I mean, the perception, but at the same time, the story of a toddler shooting themselves seems much more violent than a toddler drowning in a pool, but it happens all the time.
And there's also, sometimes when people that are looking to get rid of guns altogether, they will sometimes do things that, I don't think they should do, like when they cite the number of gun deaths during the year, they'll include the number that includes suicides. And it's like, yeah, I get it. Those are people that died by guns.
Yeah, right.
But you can't really, count that, because we're really talking about homicide is what, if someone wants to kill themselves, they'll unfortunately find a way.
Well, that might not be true because I've listened to another story about that. But I don't know. You guys want to go slightly off topic? We kind of went through that.
Go for it.
So basically, they're studying this phenomenon of like you get certain cultural norms in people committing suicide. And so like basically the type of gas that used to be in ovens would kill you. And so you get a lot of people suiciding by, blocking the doors and windows and sticking their head in. Or like cars used to have much worse CO2 emissions. So you could close a garage and just run the car in there and that would kill you. So you see the number of people killing themselves this way. But then when they transition to a different gas or a better car that doesn't do that, those two kind of ways of killing yourself will go out the window. And they'd see the number of suicides would drop because people were like trained to, like, if I was going to kill myself, I was going to do it this way, but that's gone. So, and then they just don't do it. And you kind of think, a lot of people think that people are going to find a way to kill themselves. But sometimes if you take that away, it does go down and you don't see as many.
Yeah, I feel like the gun route would be an easy way to kill yourself, like...
I mean, it's quick, it's painless.
Yeah.
I mean...
Not endorsing that anymore.
Right. If I was going to kill myself, that would definitely be high on the list of...
Yeah.
I think if I was going to kill myself, I would look for like a pill overdose. That
a lot of people do that, and a lot of people survive those too.
Yeah. And plus, like... You'd still kind of feel it, like you'd go through the motions of like getting sleepy or whatever, taking sleeping pills or something. Then
yeah, I mean, getting sleepy and just passing out, never waking up. I mean, it's a pretty tranquil way, I would think.
Yeah,
I would think having to pull the trigger, even though it's going to be fast, there's something in your brain that would make that hard. I think. I don't know.
It's easier to just not think and do it. Just be like, all right, 1, 2, 3.
But yeah. But I don't think it's necessarily fair to cite, include suicide deaths in the overall when you're
it's basically because you're trying to win an argument. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to something a little less depressing.
From suicide, really?
Now, man, this one is tough. I think I know the way I'd go on this, but neither sound pleasant to me. Would you rather have to hunt for everything you eat, or eat only McDonald's for every meal? Now, here's the thing. I don't really love McDonald's.
It is addicting, though. So, like, once you get on that roller coaster.
and like, they do have a side of their menu that I've, like, the quote-unquote healthier side with, like, salads and shit.
Which aren't healthy.
Yeah, which probably aren't very healthy either. But I just feel like, man, like, I have too much shit to do to be hunting all the time.
Well, I mean...
I know that would be
like
the better
living in Montana, it might not be that bad.
Yeah.
Because like...
but still, then you'd just be eating deer all the time and it would still get boring.
Well, I mean, there's some variety there. I mean, wild game, that's not a bad meal. But the thing is, like I had a history teacher and I talked to him one year and he literally shot over a ton of meat. Like he had a moose, he had an elk, he had numerous deer. And so I'm just thinking this guy just sits around when he's not hunting, which he's probably hunting quite a bit. When he's not hunting, he's just sitting around eating steak and drinking whiskey. I was like, this guy, he knows how to live right here.
Man, it is tough because, like,
I mean, if you're living in a city, like, you're pretty much cats, ducks, dogs.
yeah, the whole hunting thing. Do you think is there a healthy way to eat McDonald's? Like, is there? Because I'm not super familiar with McDonald's menu. I don't really eat there hardly ever. But like, so is there like genuinely healthy options?
I mean, I don't think there's healthy necessarily. I mean, if you restrict your calories, obviously you don't have to get fat doing it. But yeah, it's probably not great long term. And I've been eating a lot of McDonald's lately because of work.
What would you do, AJ?
I'd go for it because I've never hunted in my life. And like actually killing the animal, like that's hard for me. Like just eating it is easy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an emotional aspect to killing animals, which I think a lot of people do have. And when you do kill an animal, I think that's when you kind of really appreciate some of the cultures and how they honored, the dead animals, because there is definitely a hard feeling there,
Yeah.
So you want to respect that animal.
So yeah, it's a tough one. I don't. Maybe if I did live back home, I would just buy a big old freezer and.
Because I mean, you shoot a couple deer, you don't have to be hunting every day.
That's true.
Unless you're eating like rabbits or something.
I feel like you would get tired of the repetitiveness.
Well, I mean, think about the variety. You have deer, elk, moose. You have trout. You have salmon. You have rabbits. You have turkeys.
Now, if I kill one of Dad's chickens, is that still hunting?
If you do it with a gun, it is.
Chickens just pop off their heads, right?
Yeah, they just pick them up and break their necks, I think.
Yeah.
That's even kind of more fucked up than shooting something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty personal.
I've seen it before, like somebody pop off a chicken's head.
Really?
Yeah, my grandfather in India, they were making chicken, and they got a chicken from my cousin's farm, and they did that, and I was just like, oh man.
I haven't seen it. I'm a little surprised I haven't seen it, thinking about it.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone do that.
I felt bad eating that chicken that night. Still ate it. But,
that was like your friend, like Rodrigo, running around the yard for a few days.
I remember when we were kids, my dad hunted some grouse, and then he cut off their leg and he left the tendon hanging out, and he would give that to us. And so you pull the tendon and it makes the
talon goes in
moves the talons in and out.
Oh wow,
what a macabre freaking toy. I carried one of those around in my pocket for a long time.
You carried it in your pocket?
Yeah, like I saved it. I took it to school and showed it.
Get all nasty.
I mean, you gotta think that's gotta be nasty.
It sounds nasty.
Oh, man.
Thing's got to get stinking.
But why the fuck was he giving us that shit?
Yeah, in retrospect, it is kind of a fucked up, here's an 1800s toy.
I remember distinctly carrying one of those around in my pocket and showing other kids.
I never carried it in my pocket, but yeah, I do remember playing with it. That's a good show and tell.
Yeah.
All right, AJ, we'll move it back over to you.
All right, let's see what we got here.
Yeah, I never saw any other kid do that.
All right. An American hotel guest may be facing a prison sentence in Thailand after posting negative reviews about his stay in late June. Wesley Barnes, an American working in Thailand, could face 7 years in prison for both defamation and in violation of the Computer Crime Act for allegedly posting falsified claims online, according to the Associated Press. The Seaview Khon Chang Hotel said that Barnes left slanderous reviews on several platforms, including TripAdvisor, and that public harassment because of these reviews escalated, prompting hotel officials to seek help from police and authorities. First, we initiated numerous attempts to discuss with the guest to stop his series of fabricated, recurrent, and damaging public reviews to our staff and hotel. The hotel said in a statement to NBC News. It said that Barnes' reviews made references to the hotel practicing modern slavery and xenophobic claims against a hotel manager. He also left comments that could mislead readers to associate our property with the coronavirus, the statement said. The hotel, which is in Koh Chang Island in southwest Thailand, claimed that Barnes had a dispute with the hotel staff over a corkage fee that for alcoholic beverages brought into the hotel's restaurant. Hotel officials said that after discussions with Barnes, the hotel waived the fee. However, in his reviews, the guest claimed that he was forced to pay the corkage fee. The statement added, in one review on TripAdvisor, Barnes posted about unfriendly staff and singled out a hotel manager. He said Tuesday that he hopes to resolve the matter with the hotel soon. I will delete my review and never speak about them again, he said by email. I just want to forget this ever happened. TripAdvisor removed Barnes' initial review of the hotel because it did not meet the travel site's review guidelines. Brian Hoyt, TripAdvisor's head of global communications and industry affairs, said. Barnes then submitted another review that did meet the requirements. TripAdvisor is opposed to the idea that a traveler can be prosecuted for expressing opinions, the company said. Thankfully, on a global basis, prosecutions like this are rare, and hundreds of millions of travelers are able to express themselves freely without facing criminal charges. We are continuing our investigation into this incident, and we are in the process of reaching out to the U.S. Embassy in Thailand, the website said. NBC News has reached out to the U.S. Embassy in Thailand, Thai police, and the State Department for information regarding this case. Thailand's defamation law and criminal charges that can be applied to public comments have been called out by activists and critics, according to the AP. So yeah, this guy just left some negative reviews about a hotel, and he's facing up to 7 years in prison.
So in Taiwan, Yelp is the sound you get when you get prison rape for writing a bad review.
Thailand, man.
I'm not going to laugh at that.
That's terrible, yeah.
I almost did a story a couple weeks ago. I want to say it was out of Taiwan. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd have to look it up. But it was a video I was going to have you guys watch and react to where they were doing this festival where they basically sent off these big old kites up into the air. And like they send this one and it has like a long tail on it. And like this 3-year-old girl grabbed onto the end of it and it goes up in the air and she's just hanging on this fucking end of this kite. God. And it like whirls around and she comes back down and they catch her. But it's like fucking freaky, man. If it was your kid, you'd be like, you'd be shitting yourself anyway if you were there seeing it. But I was like, yeah, it goes up and there's this thing on the end. And you're like, it's the 3-year-old girl. And you're like, oh, goddamn.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's pretty freaky.
Lucky that thing came back down.
Yeah. But yeah, it's that story. Yeah. Some countries, man, that's a little too uptight.
Yeah.
Getting in trouble for writing a bad review.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, Thailand's like their whole economy, like a lot of their economy is based on tourism though, but yeah, still it seems like a pretty harsh law.
Well, that discourages tourism. Like it, you hear a story like that.
Maybe they're trying to like, they don't want any like bad reviews in their country. It's all good here.
We don't need tourism. We just don't like bad reviews.
So you don't want to write your review of Thailand until you're out of
until you're back home.
Yeah, exactly.
And then never go there again.
Yeah, that's not a great sign. You can't even. Well, he was doing a little more than putting in his opinion, wasn't he? He was like spamming them from different like.
Yeah, it sounds like he wrote multiple reviews.
So, being a dick a little bit, still.
Yeah, I mean, some people are uptight themselves. Like they go to a place and not everything's perfectly the way they want it, and they get mad about that. Yeah. So. I don't know, maybe he deserves 7 years.
Statistically, maybe he was, a murderer.
All right, we'll move it back to you.
Can I take a pass?
Yeah.
I'll take a pass.
Taking a pass.
Well, I mean, I got another... You guys want to talk about climate change?
I mean, we can if you want.
Well, I mean, I moved back into like the skeptical range, and I know I've been taking some shit for that. So I thought maybe we could talk about it. But kind of like the first point even is like we've talked about words and psychological wording and how this plays out in some arguments. And just some of the language around it, like you have climate denier. So implicitly, if you're on that side of the fence, you're denying it, and you basically lost before you've even said anything, because it's written in your very name on your side of the argument that you're a denier, that you're a liar. And then on the other side, basically calling names back, we say, oh, well, you're a climate alarmist. And how often do you see this in science, where people are so deeply into this that they're like using weird and dirty like tactics to kind of try to win the fight.
Well, is it so much the scientific community using those terms though themselves?
I mean, I feel like it's kind of permeated the society, really.
I feel like maybe the scientists just put out their work and then other people debating it came up with those terms, but I don't really know.
Well, I mean, I feel like there is that political attachment there, and I'm sure most scientists wouldn't use that in a paper, right? Because it's a form of, I don't know, it's just not appropriate. But so there's that, but there's some things that kind of made me start being a little more skeptical again, because I was skeptical, and I moved a little more to the middle of the road, listening to probably like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like, he was talking about it emotionally, and generally I think he's a very good source. And there's some others like Michael Keku, who I think are full of shit and will say anything for $1. But kind of getting into it, there's some reasons to kind of think maybe it's not that bad. So I guess to get into this, to kind of get you guys what I'm thinking, because some of it is based on fact, right? You can prove conclusively that humans are increasing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. It's well documented that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. So kind of the argument is it really that bad? And there's some reasons for that argument. Well, let's see, where should I start? So since the Industrial Revolution, they estimate we've gone from 280 to 410 parts per million carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And they estimate the temperature has gone up 1 degree. Now, there's also kind of a well-known thing that this is a logarithmic equation on the greenhouse gas, which essentially means if you increase by 100 parts per million to get 1 degree rise in temperature, you're going to have to double that. So you're going to have to go 200 parts per million more to get another degree. Then you're going to have to do 4, then 8, then, so this logarithmic scale adds up really quick, and you don't get that much temperature rise, even though you may be increasing carbon a lot more. So if you look back at the human race, I think the max in like the last 300,000 years or something, I didn't write this down, I should have, but was maybe like 370. So we're high for the history of the human race in carbon dioxide. But historically, if you go back to like 500 million years or something, which is a huge time scale, but back then it was maybe 7,000 parts per million. So right now, historically, we're not at a really high amount of carbon dioxide. And so I brought up the 500 million years because, well, that's when it was like 7,000 or something crazy. But that's also the time where we had it's called the Cambrian explosion, which is a time in history where the amount and the diversity of life on Earth basically exploded. So you just have this huge diversity coming out. And that's actually, there's some different theories on why that happened. But essentially what it comes down to is that CO2 is maybe not that bad, really. Because essentially, if you look at CO2, what is it? It's plant food, right? And so even if you look at like aerial photos or photos from space, they can quantitatively say that since carbon dioxide has been increasing, the Earth has been getting greener. Because if you take a plant and they need certain nutrients, they need nitrogen, they need phosphorus, they need stuff out of the ground, and they need carbon dioxide to do photosynthesis. So since that's been rising, you've been seeing basically more plant life on Earth, or you've been seeing, thicker plant life maybe. So, I mean, I thought that was interesting, but then, with the logarithmic stuff, like, it's very hard to say what, a 10 degree rise on Earth really means. Like, it's hard to project how much ice is going to melt, how much sea levels are going to rise. And so there's all of that, but there's also like this entire thing, was kind of built up by Al Gore, and he kind of put himself in position to control or be like at a head of a lot of these scientific posts inside the government. So like NASA, Department of Energy, and all of these. And kind of when he starts pushing this agenda, like respected scientists who, take the other side of the fence, they get fired, they get removed from their positions. And so it's kind of weird that, a lot of this has been pushed by a politician and not a scientist. And so another thing is like the essential model from this, it came from like 1970 or something. And I listened to a couple of these Princeton physicists talk about it. And they knew the guy who essentially created the model. And most of the models for these systems of weather and heating from CO2 are based off the same guys, but they have certain different little fudge factors at the end. Well, since they're kind of pushing this one idea of climate change, like if someone has another model, if it's not fitting, basically they can come in here and change these other factors at the end and force it back in to what's kind of popular opinion. And so you're getting these other models and these other reports matching all these other models and reports, and they're essentially kind of copying each other's homework. Like it's not like new or innovative. And the problem is all these models, the predictive power isn't as strong as it really you might want, because it's an exceptionally complex system and it's very hard to model. Another issue is basically the correlation of carbon data with temperature data. There are periods of time where it matches pretty closely. And so, well, there's also the issue that correlation of data doesn't necessarily prove causation. So you can't say, even though these two are matching in this time period, they're necessarily one is the cause of the other. But even if you look at that and you say that's our hypothesis, you can go back and look at other time periods where it doesn't match that strongly. And it's actually weak enough to say that, the man-made cause of CO2 is probably relatively weak. So, I mean, with all of that, I'm not really sure, to be anything other than kind of skeptical.
Well, this is, not being a scientist myself, it is, hard to go point by point here and disagree with everything. But, I think the thing most, scientists that do come down on the side of it's real and we need to do something about it is like they will even admit like it's really hard to, one of the things that's hard to, convince people of it is it's really hard to predict the effects. Because, like, if you go back to that documentary that Al Gore did,
which has a lot of bullshit also, but go ahead.
Well, it just, in that documentary, it predicted, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. And some of that stuff did happen, but a lot of it didn't.
Right.
And so then people, on the more skeptical side go, oh, look, didn't happen. But there's,
that's the thing.
It's so complex that, you can't accurately predict the type of things that'll happen.
Which is the problem. Why are they predicting it then?
Well, if they...
especially if their models aren't holding up true, which they are breaking at certain points. And basically, it's a tool. Those models are good at saying something's happening now and studying it. They can give you a lot of good information. It can give you a lot of like kind of ideas and intuition to what's happening. But projecting in the future, they're really quite bad. And even of like all the models that have now, because we're in some kind of like period where there's a kind of a temperature plateau, and none of the models predicted it. And they're kind of like, why are all these predicting it? But, I was talking about those fudge factors, and like even Einstein, like when he had relativity, because they believed basically the cosmos was kind of stationary, he added this kind of little fudge factor in there to make it fit those beliefs. And it turned out to be horribly wrong. So, I mean, if someone as brilliant as that can have that kind of issue, to assume that that's not a real possibility, I think is pretty questionable.
Well, to your thing about like, why would they do that? I think there's a lot of scientists who genuinely believe like does have the potential to lead to a cataclysmic event. And so if they believe that...
The question is kind of how, though, because I just don't see it anymore. Like, I mean, the amount of CO2 you'd have to pump in the atmosphere to even get like a 10-degree change is quite a bit.
Let me ask you, this, though. like let's say all the scientists that come down on the side of believing it.
Yeah.
Let's say they are wrong, and it isn't.
And there's a substantial number of people putting faith in these models and building these models. Yeah.
But let's say you end up, the skeptical side ends up being right, and it's not as big a deal. Isn't the end goal of having more of our energy through green resources? Isn't that a good idea, anyways?
Well, I definitely think it doesn't hurt anything. Well, some of them do have certain impacts, but
not as bad as traditional oil.
But is that true? That's the question.
Okay, what's your argument against?
That's essentially Elon Musk's argument, right? Is there's this big experiment going on, and we don't necessarily know what's going to happen. So why take the risk? And I think that might be valid, but on the other hand, looking at some of this other stuff, I'm like, maybe it's not even valid. Maybe it's not a bad thing at all to have some extra carbon dioxide. So. I've been trying to look and see if it's possible, but it's definitely made me much more skeptical than and like I said, I was already kind of in the middle just due to my own ignorance. But I don't know.
Let me ask you this: what's the benefit of not doing anything about it? What's the benefit of going as is?
Well, like I was talking about the Earth being greener, essentially because you're pumping plant food into the atmosphere. And getting a greener earth out of it, and plants essentially build oxygen, so you have more,
Now, I forgot your timeline because you said like thousands of years ago.
Well, initially when I was so like in the human race, we're higher now than we have been. Like historically, like the last 300,000 years, I think they said it was like 370 or something.
But that part, like thousands of years ago, where you said it was like super duper high.
This is millions ago. So
that was pre-humanity.
Because
we wouldn't have been able to survive.
This is pre-dinosaurs.
Oh.
But just the Earth does okay. It seems like it's doing fine in much more carbon dioxide rich environments. So
I'd be worried about the flooding because there was an ice age 12,000 years ago, and when that ended, it was because the temperature rose a few degrees.
Well, right. So when you have a big ice age, the water levels drop, and then when all that melts, they come up again.
Yeah, and the water rushed, it flooded northern U.S.
Yeah, there was a huge, I forget what it's called. There was a big movement where a bunch of glacier and movement came from Montana and Idaho and kind of went all the way through Washington, Oregon, and wiped all the vegetation and stuff.
Yeah.
And they still find big rocks and stuff from those deposits.
Yes, it could be very destructive, and it could potentially kill a bunch of people.
I'm just wondering, is it I just don't think they have enough evidence to claim that is true. But there's a lot of speculation on those fronts that there could be more storms or less storms or all these things. But there's just not enough evidence.
Do you want to add more to this? I think we've.
That kind of hit on a good chunk I was looking at. Another one I hear all the time is the coral bleaching, and it's always blamed on global warming. But there's a very significant study out of Florida, and it's a 30-year time period where it looks like it's very heavily connected to nitrogen in runoff due to sewage and fertilizer. And so in some ways that's a good thing because you can regulate those things and clean up water and maybe prevent some of that. But it just seems weird that, it gets linked first to climate change. And even if you look at articles that are oh yeah, we see this big correlation with the nitrogen, but also climate change is playing a role. And it's just kind of weird that it feels forced in there and different stuff like that to me. But yeah, basically that's why I'm a skeptic, and we can move on to something else.
I guess the only thing I would add to kind of close is I guess I take that Elon Musk approach, the better safe than sorry approach. And I think no matter what, going to a future of having more of our energy be green energy is just going to be better overall anyway.
But also with Elon Musk, I do take a little bit into consideration that his bread is buttered on one side,
On electric cars.
Well, he's got Solar City, he's got the electric cars, but he gets a shitload in subsidies for these things.
Mm.
So it's a little bit tainted, but it's also like the people who are paid by oil and gas to make statements like, you're like, okay, I think maybe I better take these ones with a grain of salt, you know?
Okay. So my next topic is, I was wondering, is there anything that you think your parents, when you were kids, kind of made you abnormally scared or paranoid of? Now, the one that comes to mind for me, and it's not that I think to a degree you should be afraid of it, but to me it's drugs. Because like I've never done drugs, I've always been terrified. But I think the reason I am so terrified,
Yeah, it was definitely instilled.
is when I was a kid. And the thing about my mom is like, I don't know if she did this on purpose or if it was just in her nature. I don't remember getting a lot of like, you know, the typical talks like, don't do drugs or I'll kick your ass or whatever. But she would talk to my dad in front of me and she would be like, you know, did you hear the story about this kid that did heroin? Yeah, did it one time, dead as hell. And like, and she would just like tell
she was always indirect.
Yes, she would always be talking to my dad, but she would be relaying these fucking horrifying stories of people, you know, dying and getting fucked up from drugs, to the point where I was just always fucking so scared and paranoid of drugs. Like there was no chance I was ever doing them. And so I was just wondering, do you guys have things like that were maybe like, you know, your parents, you know, from a young age made you scared or kind of paranoid of?
I was always too stupid to listen to my parents.
Like our parents were always like those cautionary tale types. And so, yeah, a lot of their morality was based on this kind of, I think there was generally like a kind of a looking down on certain people and certain things, but it was also like that's what they would gossip about. But it'd always be like, yeah, kind of like you're better, and this was like this horror story. And you're like, oh, God.
Yeah, I don't want to be that.
Yeah, you don't want that. But yeah, around drugs or alcohol or sex or just different things like that.
Yeah, I don't remember, you know, having the quote unquote talk about any of those things. It was just like I was saying, those like third hand,
yeah, you
know, stories between them but didn't like we heard. And I was like, yeah, you know.
Do you think she planned that out for you guys to hear?
That's the thing, is I don't know if it was like a
yeah, I don't necessarily think it was purposeful, but it was definitely like that was how their morals were instilled in us, I think.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I don't know if it was on purpose or like it's just her nature of, you know, listening to horrible news and relaying it. But
yeah, I think most parents just kind of wait till you do something and beat the shit out of you. Because if you preach to kids, I think that's when they go and do it.
Yeah.
I kind of think that too. Well, it's like the whole thing about like, the preacher's daughter.
Because then you get rebellious about it.
Yeah, about the like preacher's daughter being a slut and things. And I think there is something to that, like Catholic kids and you know, wilding out because they're so repressed when they're younger.
Because our parents were actually very like laissez-faire. Like we could do stuff.
Yeah,
but there was definitely like you would be ashamed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they didn't have a talk where you're banned from doing this.
Right.
It's just like, know that through all these stories
you're going to get shunned or something.
Yeah, know that through all these stories I'm telling that you're making a piece of shit decision.
You're treading on thin water, yeah. I love the one where they're like, if you ever go to prison, we're not bailing you out. Yeah, that's a favorite.
Yeah, I always feel like, you know, when little kids, a lot of times they'll be like, I'm running away. They would always be like, okay, do it. Let's see how far you get. All right, AJ, we'll kick it back to you.
All right, let's see what I have here. I thought this was interesting because last year, and Rumman actually did this one time, 103-year-old becomes world's oldest tandem skydiver. 103-year-old man became the Guinness World Record holder for the oldest tandem skydiver when he jumped out of a plane in Texas. Alfred Al Blaschke, who went skydiving for the first time in 2017 to celebrate his 100th birthday, made good on a promise to return to the sky 3 years later to celebrate his twin grandsons graduating from college. Blaschke jumped out of the plane at 14,000 feet while strapped on to Don Cameron, a certified tandem jump instructor at Skydive Spaceland San Marcos. The centenarian landed safely on the ground about 5 minutes later. Everything went perfect, Blaschke said. skydiving is a very safe sport these days. Statistically, it's more dangerous to be killed getting snacks out of a vending machine. So the vending machine comes
came back.
Yeah. I mean,
Popular comparison.
I am afraid of heights. I'm afraid of water, like large bodies of water, and I'm afraid of heights, like big time.
I'm with you. I'm terrified of heights. Like skydiving sounds like one of the scariest fucking things in the world.
Yeah, sounds horrifying. I talked to my sister. She said the only thing she really felt was uncomfortable because it was cold and her ears were popping and stuff like that.
I think I had too much adrenaline to feel that. Like jumping is like super hard, and then it's just like easy peasy.
When you hit the ground, were you like shaking for a long time?
For a while, yeah.
I feel like I would be shaking.
I had like a super rush going for a while. Like both of us were like fast talking and all excited and crazy. Yeah, because you're just like you're jacked up, man.
There was this funny video I was watching Tom Segura, I think from a couple weeks back, and I think they had like a TikTok video, but it was a tandem skydiving, and this one guy was so afraid he passed out. And they had the camera on him, and then the guy with him, the professional, like kind of wakes him up as they're going back, and then he like opens his eyes, and as soon as he like realizes, he just screams in like abject terror.
That would be me.
Not that I saw like I've seen somewhere like someone's on like a roller coaster or like a carnival ride or something, and they like freak out and pass out, and like a few seconds later they'd open their eyes and wake up, and they'd be like they'd do it again, and like, they'd pass out like 10 times before they were done.
Yeah.
Oh man, I get scared just on like a 3-story building or something. So falling from thousands of feet, I think I'd pass out for sure.
Yeah, no, that's definitely like a human instinct. Even in babies, like they're very conscious of like edges and falling.
Yeah, that's why I don't like flying. It just especially
I don't feel anything in an airplane.
I feel fine in an airplane just because like I can separate the two things. I can disconnect from the fact that I'm thousands of feet in the air with just that. Oh, I'm on a plane. We're just It's
for me, the takeoff is the worst part. And I also hate it when they're in the air and it just drops suddenly, and you get that feeling like
a little turbulence.
Uh-huh.
Well, just that feeling of lightness. Yeah, that falling feeling just jolts me. And like I see other people, they don't even notice it, and I'm like, man, am I sensitive to this or what? Because I just like and also I'm like, how many planes are in the sky that they can't take it down mildly? Like they have to just drop it like that. They can't like ease it on down. They have to fucking drop it.
Well, it depends. I think some of them have softer descents, but it's about whatever the control tower tells them to do to try to keep everybody away from each other.
Man, I don't know. I just hate that feeling.
I mean, it's weird though. Like thinking about a flight makes me more scared than actually being on a flight, So when I think about like flying over the Atlantic Ocean on a plane, like that's horrifying. Like what if it came down and stuff? But actually being on the flight, it's like, oh, I'm just on a plane, everything's normal, no big deal. I'm just sitting here. You don't think about the fact that you're thousands of feet in the air and anything could happen.
Do you ever get to like bathroom anxiety? Like I might have to go use this, airplane shitter.
I never use the airplane restroom. I make sure to use the restroom before I get on a plane because the last flight that I was on, I had diarrhea before even getting on the plane. But I made sure to use the restroom somewhere before I got on the plane.
Like one of those 20-hour flights.
Yeah, I'm like
pinching cheeks the whole way.
I couldn't do that. I would have had an accident on.
You would have to at least piss.
I don't care about using the toilet. I'm more like I don't like want to make somebody get up to let me out.
Yeah, I have anxiety even about that kind of stuff. So we're like, man, I don't want to have to tell this person that I need out.
Yeah. Man, I held like a piss for a long time on a flight, and they were like about to start descent, and I was finally like, I can't do it. I was like, you gotta let me out. I was like, old lady.
She's like, okay. She took like 8 minutes.
They were kind of like irritated at me. Oh. You could tell they were irritated. I was like,
Hey, how you can be irritated? The guy goes one time in the whole flight.
Yeah, but like right at like the crucial moment where everyone's supposed to be sitting down and locking up, and
I guess you could buy one of those like catheter things that you hook to your has a tube that goes down, and then you have like a bag around your ankle.
Piss in the vomit bag. It's not my fault you didn't make it waterproof.
I've tried to pee in a bottle before. That's harder than it looks.
I've done it like in a car, like a trucker bomb. Yeah. Cap it off and chunk it.
You got anything else in your scrawling there?
No, I was seeing if I had any old stuff in here, but I've gone dry.
Would you guys rather have a higher IQ or a photographic memory?
I mean, that kind of works out to being more intelligent, doesn't it?
It
does.
does kind of equal the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think
because memory is a big part of your intelligence.
Yeah, and if you had a photographic memory, I just think you'd have a way of making money off of that. Plus, you could like easily pass tests and shit. I don't know. I think I'm thinking that would be.
But photographic memories aren't real, are they? Like, I thought it was like.
Yeah, it's pretty much a myth, I think.
Really, there's nobody that has that. Now, what's that? Isn't there another one they call like an eidetic memory that's not exactly photographic, but like just like really good or something?
I mean, there are people like the guy Rain Man was based off of. I forget his name now. Like he was missing some connective tissue in his brain, and he has like the best recall of any human being. And like he can like flip through a book and he'll recall like 90% of it or something.
Wow!
Like it's very high. Yeah.
He could read a Song of Ice and Fire and actually know what's going on there.
Okay, so I got another quick topic here, and I got a video that I'll actually have you guys watch that kind of demonstrates this. So this is this VR boots they're working on, and who knows if these will ever actually go into production, but basically they make it so you can basically walk while staying in the same place, but play in a VR game.
Oh, right, because that has been an issue with like VR.
So like if you watch this guy, he's actually staying basically in the same place.
Okay.
But I'll just read it here. Last year, I did a VR experience meant to simulate what it's like to be at the U.S.-Mexico border wall. The tall, foreboding wall towered above me, and as I turned from side to side, there were fields of grass with some wildlife and a deceivingly harmless-looking border patrol station. I wanted to explore more, so I took a few steps towards the wall, hoping to catch a glimpse of the Mexico side through its tall metal slats. Oops, a voice called out. A hand landed lightly on my arm. Look out, you're about to run into the wall. The wall was in fact a curtain. The experience took place in a 6-foot by 8-foot booth alongside dozens of similar VR booths. And I had in fact just walked about through it. Virtual reality is slowly getting better, but there are all kinds of improvements that could make it feel more lifelike. More detailed graphics and higher screen resolution can make the visual aspect, which is of course most important, more captivating, and haptic gloves or full haptic suits can lend a sense of touch to the experience. Now there's a solution in the motion problem too. A pair of robotic VR boots lets users walk around within an experience or game without actually leaving the enclosed space they're in. Dubbed Ecto One, the boots are the first product to come out of a Pittsburgh-based startup called Ecto VR. They're made of lightweight carbon fiber and are sort of like a pair of skates with automatically engaging brakes. They're a bit clunky because they have to accommodate the rotating discs built into the bottom, which turn in the direction the wearer moves. They're basically little treadmills in boot form. Your foot touches the floor, and a set of wheels pull your leg back while you walk forwards, matching the motion it looks like you're taking in your headset. For the boots to make a VR experience more realistic, users will have to forget that the roller skate-like contraptions are strapped to their feet. But this is just the first iteration, and as most flashy new tech tends to do, the boots and other VR accessories will get smaller, sleeker, and cheaper over time. Pretty soon we will be able to walk all the way to Mexico without ever leaving the room. So I just saw this article and thought it was kind of neat, so I looked up this video where they're using it.
It seems kind of like walking to Mexico, but with extra steps.
I did notice on here, it looks like it's moving pretty slow in the VR while
Yeah, that's probably like a calibration issue.
But and like I don't know if that's actually a better experience than just moving yourself with the controller, but it is kind of immersive, I guess, to feel like you're actually walking, inside a simulation.
It'd be interesting to try, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be getting in on the ground floor of this.
Yeah, I feel the same way about VR, where like I haven't actually been able to try like a more modern VR unit, but I know a lot of people, say that there's some cool experiences, but to me it's like I don't have to be an early adopter. Like I'll wait for another couple iterations where like there's
where it starts getting
no
good.
wires and there's a library of good stuff to do on them and stuff like that. Have you guys either of you ever been to a place where they had maybe a demo set up where you got to try VR?
Yeah, we went to, I don't know if it was Astoria or somewhere around there. They had like a demo set up there where people were doing VR, and it looked pretty cool. I didn't do it myself, but I could see the screen and what people were looking at and how they were reacting to it, and that was pretty cool.
In a post-COVID world, that'll probably seem like terrifying. People probably won't do it. But yeah, I think there's some, possible applications of VR that could be cool. Like putting yourself maybe in some sort of, interactive movie or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see VR being I don't know like how you would apply it besides video games and stuff right now. But like an interactive movie, that sounds like an interesting idea. Yeah, I would just wait. They've been working on VR for like decades, So
Yeah.
I don't know when the technology will really be good enough to where you enjoy it fully and you feel like you're immersed completely.
I know some people still complain about kind of getting that seasick feeling. And they can only do it for so long and they need to take a break because they start to feel nauseous,
Yeah.
It's not everybody. Everyone's different, of course, but
I could definitely see if it wasn't syncing up pretty closely where you'd start feeling a little wonky.
yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much all my topics. Do you guys want to do any other ones? Do you have...
I'm dry. Maybe OJ got something.
Yeah, this one's about disgusting food museum.
Oh, that sounds like a good one.
Yeah. So, okay, squirrel beer, ant gin, and poop wine are served up in Disgusting Food Museum's new exhibit. Gin brewed with ants, poop wine, whale testicle beer flavored with the smoked dung of Icelandic sheep. This beverage collection sounds like a menu at the world's worst happy hour, but it's actually part of a new exhibit at the aptly named Disgusting Food Museum in Malmo, Sweden. One highlight is a Scottish beer that is the strongest beer in the world, with a staggering 55% alcohol by volume. But the high alcohol content isn't the weirdest aspect about the Scottish beer. The intoxicating brew is served inside a taxidermy squirrel. I have long been fascinated by what we humans force ourselves to overcome, or our dislike for acquired taste of alcohol. Drinks can be intensely bitter, pungent, or otherwise unpleasant, Aaron's told Live Science in an email. This exhibit is a deep dive into why we drink, and how we started our strange relationship with spirits. Disgust has long been considered a universal human emotion, but while the emotion may be universal, opinions vary widely about what qualifies as disgusting, depending on customs, culture, and personal tastes, the museum website says. What is delicious to one person can be revolting to another. Disgusting Food Museum invites visitors to explore the world of food and challenge their notions on what is and what isn't edible, according to the website. Alcohol in the museum exhibit has been considered, or had to be considered, drinkable somewhere in the world, even if some would be put off by the offensive taste, odor, or the background of how it's made, Aaron's told Live Science. For example, a rice wine called Tongsul, once used as a medicinal remedy in South Korea, is brewed with fermented human feces. The thought alone is enough to get most people to gag, Aaron said. Unsurprisingly, the so-called poop wine smells horribly bad during production, he added.
How's it smell after production?
I mean, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That takes some creativity to take poop and be like, you know what, I'm gonna mix this with rice wine. And,
Yeah.
Oh,
That's like when you're trying to see how far the local hobo will go in his
yeah.
alcoholism.
let's put poop in his wine.
Let's see how bad you really want.
Got some wine for you.
I like to think this came from how in the old days, they would actually make wine by stomping around, squishing grapes with their feet.
Yeah.
Someone just I got a shit right now. They shit in there too, and then stomp that down. And that's how poop wine started.
Bear Grylls.
Oh, yeah, I don't know where that thinking comes from. Who thinks if you eat or drink poop, you're going to be better? It's something that comes out of your body for a reason.
I mean, there is a weird fetish that people like to. Some people like it.
Yeah, there's a fetish for it. That's true.
Was there one that was made out of testicles or something?
Oh yeah, didn't you say
Because generally I don't think of meat products being used to make alcohol.
Wasn't there something about whale semen or something?
Yeah, there was something about whale semen. Let me see.
Tastes creamy.
Whale testicle beer flavored with smoked dung of Icelandic sheep.
Whale? How big do you think a whale testicle is?
That'd be massive.
Yeah, gotta be big old testicles.
Make a lot of beer out of that.
That's like the sailors. They like, well, we cut up, we got all the oil and the meat, and it's like, well, we still got these nuts.
I
don't know about you guys, but I haven't had a drink in a while.
I like the idea of them just like tapping this big whale testicle like a tap. Yeah.
And turn the tap on.
That looks like beer, right? No thanks.
Oh man.
And yeah, with smoked dung of Icelandic sheep, so we're leaving out an ingredient.
Right. They're like, we got the balls.
It's not bad enough.
You know, it'd be perfect with this.
The perfect flavor combo. Smoked dong.
There's some like scientific chef back there trying to figure out flavors.
The ratio of cum to shit is perfect.
Voila.
Yeah. Part art, part science.
What should that drink be called? Instead of a white Russian, it's like a white, I don't know, a white sheep, I guess. No,
Oh,
it's, man.
The Blumpkin.
But yeah, you know, most alcohol's not bitter and terrible enough. You got to add shit to it.
I think it's just to prove that alcoholics will drink anything.
Yeah.
All right, guys, could we call it a day?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Man, I always forget to do this at the beginning, but if you liked any of what you heard today, make sure to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, give us a positive review. And before we go, let's go around and give everyone our Twitter handles. AJ, where can people find you?
A name for this too, and that's the number 2.
And Lester?
At unsolicited SUG.
And you can, of course, find me at Zach Jones Live, ZachJonesLive. That'll do it for all of our shenanigans this week. Make sure to tune in again next week. Bye.
Take care, guys.
All right.